Now, over the past 6 months, we've heard plenty of women complaining publicly about gender discrimination and sexual harassment at work. Many of the incidents reported come from staff in well-known companies. The most recent complaint is against Dave McClure, the founder of a seed funding company called 500 Startups. Several women have accused him of inappropriate behaviour and sexual harassment. After his troublesome history became public recently, he apologised via his blog, saying, "I'm a creep, I'm sorry," and resigned as general partner. Over the last year, the other top executives have resigned or have been sacked following similar claims. They include the Fox News presenter Bill O'Reilly in April, CEO Roger Ailes last July. Uber founder Travis Kalanick resigned last month amid allegations of inappropriate workplace culture. And the investor and co-founder of Binary Capital, Justin Caldbeck, resigned a week ago. And Fox Sports has just fired its head of programming, of course, Jamie Horowitz. Well, let's go to our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas now. He is in Paris for us. Craig, let me ask you about discrimination that we're hearing about. To be honest, these are not the sorts of industries where one would assume these things are prevalent. We're talking about the media, sophisticated places like seed funding, and you just think, and also in Silicon Valley, these are modern industries dominated by harmless nerds, but actually we're hearing rather a lot about this.
Yeah, well, these are not harmless nerds. This is big business. Yeah. This is a highly charged industry. These types of activities have been going on for years, but I think the question here is sexual harassment finally starting to topple, you know, Silicon Valley's male elite. And to look at that, an answer to that question, I think in this instance, we have to look at the numbers. In 2016, only $1.5 billion was plowed into Silicon Valley entrepreneurial ventures managed, run, or owned by women. Male funding, $58.2 billion. So the scales are tipped towards the men, and they are sadly acting in kind.
Is there any reason given for that completely skewed number? Is it discrimination, do we think, or is it because men are more creative in those industries? I mean, is there any reason offered?
It's a really, you know, Matthew, it's a really difficult and contentious question, and the answers are even more difficult and contentious. But there was a study published by the International Journal of Psychology a few months ago, which is a very reputable journal, and they found that the more equal a society becomes, the less women are perceived more favorably. This study also concluded that the biggest effect of women's empowerment was to make men, the men they worked alongside, more respected. Now, it's a study that is worth looking at. And then a woman's problem becomes even more complex because she has to go to court to get her druthers on this. And many of these completely legitimate sexual harassment cases die in court because the women run out of the money for the legal fees.
That's a really interesting and perhaps counterintuitive outcome of that psychological study, whereby the more equal a society, the less favorably women are perceived. Is that because people appreciate the more traditional roles that women play?
Well, what you will hear some management consultants and experts in this field tell you, and I'm going to get in trouble over this, so this is not me, this is what we hear, that women are more nurturing than men, and nurturing is not a quality that you want in a chief executive officer of a major company.
Craig, let me ask you something.
Personally,
let me ask you something. You know, you've been around for some time, so to speak. You know, you've been around the block a few times, and through your experience, you know, and reporting on these things over the decades, would you say there is an element of people becoming more sensitive to these issues, and that the exact same behaviour a couple of decades ago would not have been even remarked upon. So what does that tell us?
Well, you are right. It's true. This type of behavior has been going on for a long time. The millennial generation is much more sensitive to this. But the joker in this deck is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, he is the groper in chief. He sets the standard. You know, people look at his tweets, but let's not forget, these are not tweets. You know, you put what he says about women on the letterhead of the Oval Office, you know, from the office of the President of the United States. What you're having is a statement from the White House on how people should behave.
Yeah.
And it's just improper, and it's not right. But
yeah, you're absolutely right, Craig.
This is the reality that we've entered into.
A lot of people, I mean, we're going to round it up now, but a lot of people, of course, who watched the audio tape coming out of him on the bus saying you can grab women and so on, do anything you want, would have assumed that would have sunk his candidacy, but he actually went on to win. So we will save that for another day, but it just tells us a lot about some people's attitudes towards these things.